Hi, thanks for joining us tonight with SFL On Air. My name is Rebecca Kallies, and I'm here with Jeffrey Tucker, the Chief Liberty Officer of Liberty.me.
Hey Rebecca, nice to see you. Are you
Hi.
are you in Birmingham?
Yeah, I'm in Birmingham, Alabama.
So you're just not far from me. You're right down the street.
No, it's just a quick drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're responsible for having invited me to keynote the SFL event this year, right?
Yes, I am responsible for that, and I'm really looking forward to it. We've kind of developed a theme around your talk of peace, particularly for in society, and not so much between countries. So that should be very interesting.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I look forward to it. Birmingham's a wonderful place, and so many of my friends have, um, come to the ideas of liberty through some Birmingham-ish thing. I mean, Kathy Reisenwitz is, I think that's where I first met her, was at the Birmingham Southern at an event there. So,
Yeah, actually, Kathy and I have yet to meet. I kind of found the movement after she went to DC to continue her work.
uh,
Hopefully, I'll get to meet her sometime soon. But yeah,
so what have you got planned for the event? Tell me about it.
for the regional conference, we have planned this panel of veterans to talk about their conflicts with the current wars we have going on in the Middle East. That should be really interesting coming from veterans. I'm excited about that. We're going to have a social at a local brewery, Cahaba Brewing Company. They have an amazing blonde brew that's my favorite. Um, the brewing industry is kind of a new boom in Birmingham, so there's kind of a good story behind that that we can talk about over beers and everything. You know?
Yeah, there's a fascinating thing that's happened all over the country, right? I mean, these local brews, you know,
Yeah, it's really
were
cool.
brought into existence as a result of a small change in the law at the federal level. It was like there was a prohibition era law that had prevented it for decades. And I'm trying to think, I think it was under Clinton in 1995 or so, something like that, that deregulation was brought to the brewing industry. Maybe it was earlier. Yeah, I think it was under Clinton. I'm not sure. But and so it's just been a marvelous thing to see local brews popping up all over the country. It's actually fun to travel now because you get to taste new kinds of beers. But I don't know how your view is on this, but every time I have a new beer, the new local brew that everybody loves, I mean, I pretty much love it, right? I mean, there's like no beer that doesn't taste delicious to me. I mean, it has to be like really weird for me not to like it.
Yeah, I generally don't like hoppy beers, but I can appreciate it if I'm in the right setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much to that industry now beyond just the product even. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so Jeffrey, you identify as a anarchist pretty vocally. Can you tell me about how you reached that ideology?
Yeah. Well, and I'm not even sure I would call it an ideology. I guess in the old sense of that term, ideology, maybe because I mean I think the word ideology is actually a French origin, and it was a term first used by the crown against the physiocrats for their belief in competition and free trade, if I'm not mistaken. So, as a way to decry so-called laissez-faire radicals, the word ideology, as you say. Maybe I should embrace it. I don't have a problem. But it's for me, anarchism is not so much like a model I want to impose on the world. It's sort of how I see the world. Um, in this sense, um, the vast amount of our lives, in fact, most of our lives, are conducted in a state of anarchy. We decide when we're going to get up in the morning. We engage. We decide to go to work. We decide to go to class, whether to go to school. Who our friends are, who our partners are, what our religion is, what books we want to read, what ideas we want to influence, we want to have influencing us, who our Facebook friends are, what Twitter accounts to follow. I mean, and what to buy at the grocery store, what to wear that day, what jewelry to put on, or whatever. I mean, all these choices occur without the existence of a coercive element. Like there's no state or policeman managing this. And people who imagine that the state is essential to life have not really considered the fact that the vast amount of our lives, even in a totalitarian system, are conducted essentially without coercion present at the moment. So if it was true that voluntarism was essentially chaotic, or that the absence of the state was chaotic and could never lead to order, there would be disorder around us all the time. As a matter of fact, most of our lives we're experiencing something approximating, an orderly state of being. And the reason for this is the capacity of society to govern itself and to work out its own problems and work out its own solutions. Because we all have an interest in peace, we all have an interest in finding ways to live a better, more prosperous lives. So it's the absence of the state that essentially, in the day-to-day decision-making that constitutes the narrative of our daily existence, that accounts for the fact that we have happy, beautiful lives. And that's an amazing sort of realization, because so often people think the state, they think abstractly, like the state is the thing that makes the world work well. But in fact, that's just empirically not true. And that's my real conviction, and that's really what my anarchism amounts to, is a kind of a lens through which to understand the formation, evolution, and development of the social order. And in this respect, I've been very much influenced by Hayek, who himself was not an anarchist, though he should have been, right?
Yes.
But looking back at my own anarchism, it was mainly influenced by my personal relationship with Murray Rothbard, who kind of gradually took away my excuses for believing in the government. I mean, at some point, you come to realize that there's nothing the government does that needs to be done that can be done better by markets and human interaction. So, realizing that, I asked Murray. I said, "Listen, I'm really convinced that is true. Does that make me an anarchist?" He said, "Well, of course it makes you an anarchist." I said, "Well, I guess I am." And he said, "Well, congratulations." And once I kind of embraced that, as I say, that outlook as a way of understanding the world around me, which is all I really want to do, I could never really go back.
Yeah, once you see the light, it's kind of hard to go back. So we've talked about the knowledge problem of government solutions and compared to market solutions. Do you think there's a knowledge problem behind violence in society, and the violence the government perpetuates?
Yeah, well, the thing that strikes me, and this is why the knowledge problem is relevant to public policy. Any time government decides to do anything, pass any law, any regulation, enact any program, undertake a war, but even put up a stop sign, there's a presumption of knowing the right way that things should be conducted. And your conviction is so intense that you're willing to enshrine it in law and enforce it at the hand of the police. That's how sure you have to be. And you can't be just sure for now. You have to be sure for tomorrow, next year, and 10 years, and 20 years, because of course laws once implemented never get repealed. I mean, that's essentially the story of the decline and fall of Western civilization. But so yeah, there is a very peculiar kind of Hayek called it a conceit, but I mean, which is a funny word. I mean, it's a British. The Brits use the term conceit. But Americans, the last time we heard that term was like in junior high when we'd refer to somebody as being conceited. I don't know if you ever remember this kind of the first big word that you used in the 7th and 8th grade. Oh, she's so conceited. But what it means is somebody is overly confident in their spectacularness, and that's really unmerited. I mean, that's what we meet. So yeah, there's a strange conceit on the part of the state, the political class, the bureaucratic class, to presume to know what they really can't know, and in Hayek's vision, it's a fascinating thing. You have to kind of restructure the way you think to understand Hayek. But the purpose of society is not to reveal final answers to us. The purpose of day-to-day life in society is to discover ever better ways of achieving our goals and discarding failure and embracing success. That doesn't mean that there's a final resting point. It's an ongoing process of discovering things that are oftentimes a surprise to us. We think we know, but we don't really know. There's lots of things we know now we didn't know last week, and certainly or 10 years ago. So the purpose of society it's like this vast sort of evolutionary machinery that's always on a mission. On a mission to discover ever more better ways of living. And that's why we have to have freedom, so that we can enjoy this discovery process and have revealed to us ever more, ever better ways of going about our lives. And the state doesn't do that for us because it presumes they found the one true way, and so quite often it subverts us. And you see this every day, in business life and in social life, and it's presumptuous and essentially evil. This is why Hayek was actually basically suspicious of intellectuals, because intellectuals are conceited people. They think they know, whereas wisdom in Hayek's view comes down to the willingness to defer to the evolutionary process of social change, to discover the truth that we don't have in our heads, and that's a difficult thing for intellectuals to wrap their brains around. That the social order is itself smarter than any individual, and that's an awesome thing to realize. So and anyway, so I would totally agree with you that there's a profound knowledge problem at the very core of all state activity.
Actually, when I was in middle school, the terminology we used for conceited was "she thinks she's all that." So I guess in this case, we can say the government thinks it's all that.
That's cute.
Yeah, you could mean that.
She's all that. That's actually better,
Yeah. I might go around saying that now. Yeah.
It's true, but don't you feel this? I don't know if you watch the debates, but don't you feel this sometimes when you watch these people just talk? It's like, why do they think they know all things? And why do the media, expect the political class to know all things? I mean, it's embarrassing and actually intellectually disgraceful at some level.
It really is. I caught small bits of the past couple of Republican debates, and I understand why everybody needs alcohol to get through them. Like it was just a bad couple of minutes, and I had to move on to something else.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The last one lasted 3 hours, and I was okay for 2, but I was okay for 2 because I thought it was ending at 2, and I was like, okay, I did this, And then hour 2 came, and I thought, they're kind of going on here, And then it became, a little bit frustrating, and I had to force myself through the last 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Too much, yeah.
We should talk about happier things in the Republican Party. So we have 3 other speakers at the Birmingham Regional Conference. First of all, we have Art Carden, and he's coming to talk about why the poor are poor and how markets impact and then we also have Brandon Davis coming to talk about the relationship between race and the state.
Well, that's awesome, really. And where is he from?
He is a PhD candidate at the University of Alabama at the moment.
And he wants to talk about race in the state.
Yes, in relationship to Black Lives Matter. He's a
That
young voice.
sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah, I am very excited about that. And we also have George Crowley from Troy University coming to talk about South Park and public choice. So that should be interesting as
That's the
well.
biggest conference I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it's a very good lineup. So,
That's really, really exciting. Well, I'm excited about all those talks. Of course, Art is an old friend and in many ways a mentor to me because, but he's just an awesome dude. The talk about race in the state, there's so much confusion about this subject out there because I mean, in many ways, it's ridiculous the way things have panned out because Black Lives Matter, of course, as a movement is. Anti-bourgeois, tends to be anti-market, favoring government solutions. I mean, but I mean, maybe I'm speaking in ignorance on that point, but at least I detect within this sort of Black Lives Matter, which is a movement I'm like massively sympathetic with, right? I mean, obviously, but the problem is that people get confused about the real source of the trouble for race relations in this country. They're 100% that date back, in history to government impositions. I mean, just forget slavery. I mean, if you move beyond that, the draft following slavery, the imposition of Jim Crow rules, and the thing I've learned about a lot recently is the eugenics programs of the 1920s, which were just egregious, and then state-mandated segregation. So many economic regulations in American history stem from a desire to entrench in segregation and ghettoization, basically, of non-whites. In other words, there's a libertarian story here to tell, and I think we've just only very recently begun to, and then you can go into the drug war, the prison state needs to forget it. But there's a real libertarian story to tell about race in this country that has not been told well at all.
yeah.
So that sounds like that's just a great talk. So I'm excited about that. And South Park, yeah, right. This is great. I mean, I love the way pop culture is just kind of constantly reinforcing libertarian messages all the time, whether it's House of Cards or Breaking Bad, or what my latest favorite, well, of course, Mad Men, right? Or Orange is the New Black, So, which I don't know if you've seen Orange is the New Black, but it's a great show.
Yeah, I make sure to open my schedule every June now to watch Orange is the New Black. It's a serious commitment.
Did you finish season 3?
I did. Yeah, I cried a little bit, to be honest.
You cried when they all went into the river.
I did. Spoiler, we don't know who hasn't seen that.
Sorry, I cried too.
Yeah, it was kind of beautiful.
It was hard not to just and can we just say why we cried? Because they were free, and when they were free, they were happy. I mean, was that not just the greatest libertarian moment?
It was. Yeah. Don't make me tear up again right now. Don't do it.
That was the theme. That was the idea. It's like, okay, you get to make choices on your own. The jailer is gone, and the conflicts just evaporate. Suddenly, all the history just goes away. It's just data, and you're just human beings. And then everything comes together, and all the troubles just get washed away by the river of freedom that flows through you. I just that moment just wow, what an amazing theme that was about the virtues of human liberty. So yeah, the whole show is really awesome. Yeah. So real quickly, I mean, one of the things that Orange teaches us is the possibility of order even in the presence of something like massive coercion that incarceration really amounts to. I mean, even in that context, these women were able to kind of like form and develop through their own choices and volition something that approximated a stable and meaningful social order, even within their context. And I think that's it's a brilliant tribute to the persistence and reality of human freedom as a theme in life.
It is. I'm both dreading and looking forward to the beginning of the next season to see what the consequences of their freedom and happiness are. So,
Yeah.
let's find out in June.
We don't need another V to show up. That's for sure. But
Um,
you remember the final scene where there were hundreds of new women coming off buses entering the prison, because there's now a private prison, which I have, you know, I mean, it's not a subject for tonight, but I have mixed feelings about privatizations of prisons, and I think that Orange show sort of illustrates why libertarians just have mixed feelings about private prisons, you know.
yeah, it makes it very clear with the juxtaposition of the increased wages as well as the not as great living conditions. Yeah.
Well, in some ways, the living conditions were better because they had new beds, and I got the sense that the facilities were generally improved, and the showers worked, and everything like that. But the food was, of course, worse because it was, you know, more mass-produced and that sort of thing. And I don't know how realistic it is. I I was in jail recently, right? I got dragged off to jail in Georgia, you know, for you know, stupid.
What was it for this time?
Well, you know, the cop pulled me over because I didn't move over when they stopped on the side of the road or some nonsense. And so they discovered that that I had been a day late paying a ticket, and that the municipal court had not updated the DMV records, and so my license was officially listed as suspended, which even though I had a paper from the court, it's all ridiculous. But so they had to put handcuffs on me, drag me off to jail. But while I was in jail, of course, I love talking to the guards, right? I mean, these are my favorite people in a way. I mean, I always like, if I can get like a personal connection with the guards, then you know, I always feel like it's a success, and I'm interested in them. I'm interested in what they know, who they are. They're always good people, by the way. I mean, they're doing an evil job, but they're always good people.
Yeah.
And so I talked to one guard. I said, "Hey, I said, do you ever watch Orange Is the New Black? I mean, that's, you know, is it pretty realistic, you know, for what you see around here?" And he said, "Yeah, I watched one episode, but I was looking at that and I just thought, man, I live that every day. You know, when I come home, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that on television too." So he didn't watch it for that reason.
Goodness. I wonder if that like increases the sense of the accuracy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it certainly is compelling. It seems believable anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I guess every jail situation is different, and you know, it's a tragic thing that, you know, we're in a situation now where I feel like I have ever more friends of mine who are actually in jail. I never thought I would live to see the day, but you know, it's nowadays with the state dragging people off with preposterous things. And you know, when I was in jail recently, my cellmate was a Hispanic man who was treated far less, you know, deferentially than I was. They found some flakes of pot in his pocket, and he got a felony charge for. I mean, they brought him in on a failure to appear on a traffic violation, right? But once he entered into the correctional facility, they searched him and found some flakes of pot in his pocket, and charged him with a felony of trafficking narcotics in a correctional facility. So, and I don't know what that means, you know, in terms of his life or the implications of that for his future. But I hadn't looked it up. But I mean, was it 10 years in jail or something like
that? That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, and it's like in Orange, you know. I mean, how many of those women who are in prison in Orange is a single one of them? I can't even recall now. I mean, like, probably not one of them that I can think of probably needed to be there. I mean, they'd probably be, you know, they all sort of ran afoul of bad luck, more or less, you know.
There was Piper's original roommate who was there for murder.
Murdering the man who raped the girl?
Yes. Yeah.
Totally justified homicide, actually.
Yeah. So I don't think she should have been there, but most people would justify that.
I thought that homicide was totally justified. I cheered when she chopped him up. I was like, "Yes, you go, girl."
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
usually in favor of nonviolence, but not in that case.
Yeah. And then there's other people that should be in jail that are not in jail in that show, like the cop who um, killed Tasty's friend for V. There's that. But yeah. All right. So
Yeah, well, I'm having to think through the cop who killed Casey's friend for V. That's right. I'm just now remembering. I had to like cycle back in my memory. Yeah, of course, that was thoroughly, that was thoroughly evil. He just shot him dead on the sidewalk. Yeah.
yeah, it was.
That and yeah, that's the kind of thing you go to jail. But of course, But the difference between the guards. I asked my Hispanic cellmate, when recently. I said, what do you think the difference is between us and them? And he said, they're lucky, we are unlucky.
Yeah, there's probably some truth to that. Yeah, but they definitely made the decision to work with the Empire.
It's true. It's true enough, uh, and they all think, it's very interesting how the conscience sort of gets blunted under those conditions. I mean, they all just sort of believe that they're just doing their job, and that's what they say. I'm just doing my job. But they live surrounded by injustice, all the time. It's just what they've sort of gotten used to, more or less. It's terrible.
They probably have to numb themselves to it. I've met some veterans who've had to numb themselves to some issues that they've faced.
Is that right?
We keep getting so dark.
In war, yeah, in war. So yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, I think there's an analogy here between people who work for the government bureaucracy and soldiers in war. Yeah, I think that's really true. Yeah, because you're both doing immoral things, and you have to kind of reconcile yourself to it because it's the job that you have for whatever reason. Yeah, yeah. So tell me about your SFL chapter. Is it big in Birmingham?
Well, we have a Young Americans for Liberty chapter at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, where we're hosting the conference.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sporadic. It's hard to keep students fully engaged, and other chapters seem to have this thing, but it's pretty easy to engage the community. So we have a really strong network of liberty-minded individuals in Birmingham. Um, some friends of mine are starting a Young Americans for Liberty chapter at Stanford University, also in Birmingham. So we're always looking to find those freshmen and to introduce them into the ideas too. But usually the people we find that are most interested, they're older than freshmen. That's a struggle we face, but hopefully we can find out what the key is there to engage those younger college.
And you're what year are you in school?
I I'm a senior. I'm in my last class right now. It's kind of been a part-time kind of thing for 6 years, but I'll be done in December.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep students engaged because just so many other commitments and time things,
Yeah, mostly that. And then students tend to be flaky. There's a lot of things we're competing with for their time. That's the general thing for colleges. For us also, it's a commuter college, so a lot of students go home to work or to work, things like that. So we kind of just stay engaged as much as we can with the sporadic membership we have. We found it works out a lot better to have meetings at restaurants or bars than on campus. So we do that as much as possible.
Is that right? But rather than taking out a boring classroom somewhere on
Yeah.
campus.
I mean, sometimes we do want to, show some Learn Liberty videos and such, so we do get a classroom. But yeah, students are more inclined to talk about ideas over beer apparently than another desk after being in one all day.
Which raises the problem of the drinking age, by the way.
Oh yes, for sure.
Which is one of the great evils in America today, the drinking age. In fact, I think it's probably the single most corrupting law that this country has, because it takes young adults out of normal life and forces them into a dark, sort of speakeasy life, and where things are very dangerous for them. And yeah, I think and infantilizing them at a time when they most need to be learning how to be adults.
Yeah, like the consequences of prohibition that we learned about earlier in the last century, like they just concentrate that for those 18 to 20-year-olds who, you know, they're already making so many life decisions, and then they concentrate all of these consequences of prohibition into that area. And it does cause a lot of problems.
Well, you see it. I don't know. Have you seen the new Lady Gaga video?
I haven't.
You know what I mean?
No. I
Okay.
don't keep up with the music very much. I think I might have seen a post on Facebook with somebody.
Well, it's a video about campus rape, and it's a tremendously powerful video. Um, uh, Deeply touching, and it's actually heartbreaking. But what's striking about the video is that there's not a single scene in a public. There's not a single scene without drinking.
Hmm.
And there's not a single scene in a public bar.
Hmm.
It's all dorm rooms. It's all frat houses. It's all, strange hideaways. Uh, and to me, the lesson of this video is do something about this drinking age. This is a scandal. It's an outrage. Women are not safe with the 21 drinking age. Whereas if we had a normal drinking age of 16, which is typical around the world for beer and wine, 18 for liquor, then everybody, men and women, could enjoy the protection and normalization influences of regular society. Whereas right now they're denied that. I mean, to me, that video is the best case against the age limits on alcohol that I've ever seen. But I mean, I'm sorry to say that there's no movement whatsoever in this country for doing something about this problem. There's an organization of college presidents and chancellors that have signed a statement about this problem, but they can't get any interest on the part of a single politician in Washington, or very few. I think there's maybe one. Maybe I think there's one woman in like Missouri or something like that who's like campaigning for this, but otherwise there is no movement whatsoever to change this. So as a result, the fake ID industry is gigantic. The speakeasies are going crazy. Campus rapes are out of control, and parents are living in denial. And then the tragedy is that once people get the fake ID or they turn 21, they lose sympathy for the people who they left behind, and so there's no political movement whatsoever to change this. I mean, you talk about powerless people, 18 to 20. I mean, they have no political influence whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's a human rights issue to me, and I feel very, very passionate about this. I forget now what I was speaking on about it in Birmingham, but boy, I would love to talk about this topic.
Okay. Well, actually, we have a senior campus coordinator with Students for Liberty who is, her project this year is building an educational program about why we need to lower the drinking age.
Really?
Yeah, her name is Katie Moore. I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does with that. Um,
That is awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. I mean, we need all the attention on this. Anybody who writes about this. I mean, I wrote one article about it recently, and the head of the organization that of college presidents who signed the statement wrote me and said thank you for being like the only guy who's talking about it. I mean, who actually wrote an article about this, and this is awesome. He was extremely impressed.
yeah.
Yeah. There's no movement, no talk about this, but it's a scandal. I mean, it's an incredible scandal. I mean, of all the times, like, it's just one of the jobs society has is to create institutions that bring people from childhood, adolescence, teenage years into full maturity in an organic way that leads people to be as successful as possible in life. The drinking age is stopping this process from happening in a normal, natural way and creating calamitous situations for people when they most need to start learning to act as adults. So it is a very serious matter, and it's ruining the educational life on campus. I mean, you live in this world, so you know this, but anybody who is a college freshman, this is all they think about. Basically between their freshman year and their senior year, where can I drink? How can I drink? How can I get away with it? What are the risks? Where can I get a fake ID? Who can I get to buy me liquor? I mean, it's just like, it's way more important than like their grades or,
Yeah.
And we treat this as normal. This is like, there's a huge culture that's grown up around this whole issue of getting liquor. And we act as if it's just normal life. It's not normal life. This should not be going on. And did you know, you may be shocked to know this, but when I turned 18, I was allowed to drink.
I did not know that until recently. My dad told me that changed a little bit while after he turned 18.
It's just, well, in my case, I was actually grandfathered in.
Oh, okay.
Like I just like barely got in, like they moved it. There was highway funds. Like the federal government basically bribed states to change their laws by fear of removal of highway funds or something like that. And I grew up in Texas, and so they changed it. But so Texas. So during the time, right when I turned 18, the law had already changed to 21, but because I had turned to 18 right before the law passed, then they grandfathered in this whole generation of 3 years. I mean, I honestly don't know what I would have done because, I don't know. I moved out of the house, when I was 17 actually, and started college, and I can't even imagine having, if I had wasted the time. The time and attention that kids today waste just thinking about, how to get a beer. It's so appalling. This country is insane. We have the highest drinking age of any country outside of like. I think there's like a few countries in the world that are higher, maybe 5 or 6, but there's things like Kazakhstan and Bahrain and I don't know what. It was just like crazy stuff, like. So, I don't know. We're a nutty country. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, we can say for Iran that they have that free market for kidneys. So they've got that going for them and the ideas of freedom.
That's good.
All right. So can you tell me about what's next for Liberty.me?
Well, finally, I think we've got a stable platform. It takes a long time to build something as elaborate as Liberty.me. I mean, our literature, we have hundreds of books up there, and actually the best editions we could ever get of all the great Liberty-minded classics. I mean, if you could just make that a lifetime of reading. And, we have these nightly events that go on. I just got off a wonderful hangout with Scott Horton, and I'm visiting with you tonight. But almost every night we have something going on. It's wonderful. The social network is just a great community of enthusiasm and support, and I find myself relying on this community very much. I mean, it's just an environment of friendship and networking that's lovely, and learning, and publishing, which is a great thing. I mean, as soon as I left jail recently, all the thoughts were in my head, so I just put them down on paper, screen, and I had a place to go with them, and I immediately just pushed it out there, and I thought, what if I had to go crawling to an editor somewhere in the world? Can you please run my article? It changes everything. So it's an awesome thing to be able to publish your ideas and know that they're going to get an audience. And this was what inspired me to create Liberty.me. Only, I think it was 2 years ago that I, yeah, this is September, so it was 2 years ago now that I had was approaching investors about it only, because I just felt like it had to exist. The world needed this platform. So I think what's next for us is some advertising campaigns. I think we built the thing that I always dreamed of. So we're going to do a lot of marketing and see if we can push it out there and grow the membership. It's growing organically, very, very well right now. A very tolerant and beautiful community. And by the way, as you know, as a Liberty member, where there's plenty of disagreements. When I first started, people were like, "Oh, this is a bunch of people who just think like Tucker." And it's like, no, not really. I mean, I love being challenged and my views of things. But the important thing is that, unlike Facebook or Twitter, for God's sake, Twitter's just, Twitter, more to say about that, but uh, you know, it's a community of civility where people kind of trust the sincerity of all the other members, because there's a very small barrier to entry, and it's money. Basically you have to pay $5, and then you're in. But just that slight asking something of everybody gives everybody an investment in the community, and that's what makes it such a lovely place to be. And in the end, we're all in this together. We're trying to find freedom in an unfree world, and nobody knows exactly how to do that, but we all have ideas. And I really firmly believe that the first step to living a freer life and building a freer world is to feel personal inspiration. And if you don't have that, you're never going to get there. If you're just mad all the time, if you're disgruntled all the time, uh, you're not going to be contributing to the cause of liberty. You've got to have a spark of vision. Something has to happen in your heart and in your soul and in your mind to help you see something that is unrealized, and then drives you towards achieving that. And when that happens, I mean, your world changes. You change as a person. And then you become part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And to me, that's what Liberty.me is all about. It's about finding solutions.
I'm really excited about that marketing campaign because I think that would be really impactful for the Liberty movement, for people to have the introduction to a community, the Liberty movement. For me, I was introduced to a political party before I found other people. So I think that will be very beneficial to the entire movement as a whole.
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, I think it's really has achieved a real service. I'm also sorry. There's a fruit. I must have a piece of fruit on the counter. I don't know what's going on. Fruit fly that's flying. I mean, all night long I've been going like this. You're like, what is he doing? I'm trying to grab the fruit fly. The fruit flies are just like, wow, they're like the state. They're just flying around and can't grab us. But anyway, I also work for the Foundation for Economic Education. I've been charged with a big task of really bringing FEE, which is a wonderful organization that founded in 1946, into sort of a 21st century method of digital content distribution. And it's pretty awesome. It's awesome to have the confidence of a full organization behind me and the resources to carry it out. So I've got big plans going forward there. But Liberty.me and FEE serve different purposes. I mean, FEE is really primarily a kind of an educational organization. Liberty.me is really a consumer product in the sense that Liberty.me is what the consumers make of it, essentially. And FEE is more of a traditional non-profit. But I want to, well, I'll mention this to you. I mean, one of the great frustrations to me is that the way people learn today is through popular consumption of media content that interprets the world, the ongoing changing world, in light of a particular ideological structure, like BuzzFeed, latest Salon, Vox, New Yorker, Atlantic. And every one of the ones I mentioned to you is basically comes from a non-liberty-minded perspective. And I think this is the way that people learn today. I mean, they read, okay, I'm interested in this Lady Gaga video. Here's a beautiful essay on this Lady Gaga video. But of course, it's in Salon, and the message of it is basically non-libertarian, right? It's anti-libertarian, or it cuts against the idea that society can manage itself, or putting down the capacity of people to manage their own lives, or whatever. I mean, I really want Fee to be, and we're doing a good job of that now, but we just have a lot of structural changes we need to make in the future. I would like Fee to be the voice that directly competes with venues on that scale, to provide a liberty perspective on the world around us from a very high level intellectual editorial perspective that engages people directly through social and everything else. And I think we can do this. And I mean, it's strange to me that we have so many liberty-oriented organizations out there, and not one of them is consistently the go-to place for that kind of content. Reason does a very good job, but they have a particular niche related to civil liberties. Fee is traditionally related to economics, and I think we need that. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to do over the next year.
All right. So at this point, I'd like to let everyone know about a couple of podcasts that Liberty.me is hosting tomorrow night for Unbiased America with special guest Wayne Allen Root at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then Scotch and Scholars on Why Nations Jail with special guest Dr. Dan D'Amico.
Awesome. That's tomorrow night.
Yes, it is tomorrow night.
Great. And Unbiased America is hosted by whom?
Let's see.
I guess if you knew, you would have said.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, well, those both sound like awesome. By Will Richardella. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I'm looking forward to both those events. And I think tomorrow night. Yeah, and then on Thursday I take off to the West Coast because I'm speaking at Google headquarters.
Oh, cool.
On Friday. Yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I think I've pretty much settled on what I want to talk about, which is earlier when I was going on about Hayek. That's what I want to talk about.
That's definitely a good thing to talk about.
Good, right? I mean, you can. I mean, are you interested in Hayek?
Yes, I'm a big fan of Hayek.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm intrigued by this line of thinking because it's complicated, right? It's a little bit out of reach in some way, and it took me so many years to kind of like grasp it. That one of my projects in life is just to try to figure out how to translate Hayek's extremely high-level, difficult, and abstract, really high-level intellectual perspective and way of talking into ways that are communicable to anybody. And I haven't done that yet, but I keep hoping I'll get there. So thanks for letting me rehearse that with you tonight.
Yeah, anytime. All right, so in closing, I want to go over the details of the regional conference for SFL in Birmingham. It's going to be on October 17th at 10 a.m., and you're going to want to stick around after Jeffrey's keynote talk for our social at Cahaba Brewing Company. We'll feed you and we'll give you free beer. So it's not something you want to miss. All right.
Perfect event. I really look forward to it, and I thank you again for making the extra effort and inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad I worked up the nerve. All right. Well, thank you.
All the best, Rebecca. Take care.
All right. Bye.